Matey here. In this video I want to show you how I created this image. Now Nath came to me and asked me if I could do a portrait of him and his boyfriend. I said sure, and happened to be in my gallery, and he noticed this picture here that I have hanging in my gallery. He said, could you do it in this style? And I said, yes, I can do that. So I'm going to show you how I created this image. How I made the background, the textures that I use and the techniques, how we get this water effect, plus and the ripples here. If you're new to Photoshop, might be some things here which could be of use to you, and let's show you the way I created this image. So enjoy. Lost. I'm going to make a copy of this to start off with, so I'm going to unlock this. Click Control J to copy it. Turn off that background layer and this top layer. Let's do it again. Alright, so that's one side, there's the other. So I'm going to turn this layer on underneath just to pick up the bits on his tattoo that have disappeared. Alright, so I can see there's I'll highlight that background layer, and I'll just get a selection tool and I'll lasso around the bits that I want. Make a copy. Just rough it in. That should be good enough, I think. Alright, so edit, I'll copy that, and then I'll paste special and I'll paste in place. Alright, so that's just put that layer, I'll show you, so it's copied that layer and placed it in place over him. So I can turn this background layer off now. There's my models, and now I'm going to do a stamp to put it all onto one layer. Okay, so this is a texture I downloaded from DeviantArt, and I'm going to use this as the start of the background. So I need to adjust the layer order there, so I'll drag that in underneath the models, and I'll move that towards the top. Alright, so I've chosen this image because I like the colours, and it kind of already looks a bit like a cloudy sky to me, so that's why I've chosen this one. So now I'm going to add some clouds to make this look more like a sky. So let me turn off the top layer. I'll create a new layer over my background. Change this foreground color to white. And then I have to find a brush. I'm going to use some cloud brushes that I've downloaded. There's plenty of cloud brushes around that you can find. So I'm going to maybe try this one here. That's what that looks like. I'll start it at 100%. That's right. Just going to flip that around. there's a start. Okay, so now I've brought in a picture of a moon that I've cut out. I'm sure I don't need to show you how to cut out a moon but I'm going to fix up the bottom of the moon there now, just by adding a layer mask and painting with a soft round brush. With black on the layer mask. Like that. And now I'm going to paint a few more clouds. So let me place another layer above that layer there with a white brush. Find another cloud. Let's try try this one here, I think. Alright, so yeah, I do like the look of that. So shall another new layer. Okay, so I changed my mind. Okay, so we've got okay, so now I'm going to take a stamp of that and put it all onto its own level. Okay, now that we've got that as our sky background, I'm going to use a plugin now called Flood. And we're going to flood the front of this image and let me show you how I use Flood. Alright, so once you've installed it, you'll find it in your filters. Let me open that up. Alright, so I like this plugin. It's the only plugin that I use on Photoshop because it does the water so well. Alright, so I'm going to raise the horizon so that the water is closer to the bottom of the clouds there. Alright, so I'm going to make these waves make it a bit more gentle, something like that maybe. Alright, we'll go with that. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good already. Let's say there's my background. Okay, now we start working with the models that we cut out earlier. There they are. Okay. I need to position these guys. Okay, so if you're new to this, when you transform, you hold down your shift key and you can drag on the corners there, keep everything in perspective. So you say it? Perspective. I'll put my teeth back in. Okay, so maybe a little bit larger. Okay, so I'm going to do another stamp, and then I'm going to put the flood over the top of them, and I should be able to fix up the edges that way because I have the background behind them. Alright, so filter, flood 2. So I'll just get to the top of their briefs there. Now I need to try to match that in a little bit there, so I might need to shift that glare maybe. And I'll change the waves there a little bit. Okay. I'll let that render. Okay, so I just need to deal with this line along here and that straight line across the arms there. Alright, because it doesn't quite look right. So what I'll do is I'll turn off. Alright, so I'll turn off the buoys, turn on that layer we just created, and with a layer mask, I'll blend that in. So we'll probably just need a soft brush. Alright, so I'll start with the water here. Alright, so you can see I don't want to lose any of them. So just need to use a smaller brush when I get in a bit closer. Okay, so that's blending it in. Alright, I think. Okay, so now we want to reveal those arms there, just to bring that a bit closer to the camera. So I'm going to have to turn the buoys back on, and before I do that, I can see that part of his shorts appeared there. So just with a white brush this time, I'm just going to bring that back to blend it in like that. Alright. So now with black on the arms, should just be able to bring that around like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some ripples around the models because they're standing in the water, and you'd expect to see a few ripples moving out from them. So the way I'm going to do it is with this picture, this image. So I'm going to get my move tool and just drag it into my image there. It should pop it into its own layer. Alright, so I'm going to transform that so it fits on the screen and we can see what we're doing. Alright, so this technique works best with desaturated colours because it shouldn't affect any colours that are underneath it, which is what I want. I just want to see the ripples. So I'm going to use a blending mode on that. On this one I'm going to use screen, I think. Screen, because I'll get rid of all the dark bits and just leave some highlights which look like ripples. So change it to screen. Alright, now I'm just going to adjust the levels on that, and this is kind of destructive. So actually, I'll do it this way. I'll put a layer mask, a layer style over the top of that. So I'm going to do a levels, and I'm going to increase the blacks, and that should make that blend in a bit better. Alright, so I'm going to roughly size that, the size that I want. Then we'll do a few other adjustments. So it's not on the right, it's not in the right perspective. So I'm going to adjust that by right clicking on that transformation. And I'm going to try to distort, or try the perspective, or try that, and just drag that out. So, and that in maybe. And just distort it a little bit too. So I'm just going to drag that back corner down a little bit like that, I think. Okay, so with a layer mask, we'll just blend that in. So, alright, so I can still adjust these levels here if I open that up again. Let's have a look. Just zoom in and clean up the bits over the skin, I think, and it should look good enough, I think. Pretty good. Let's bring the white down a little bit. Okay, so there's the ripples. Okay, so now I want to paint some birds in the background. So on its own layer, just come down to the bottom corner here, and with a black brush, let me find a brush. Alright, so I think I'm going to use, I'll try this one freeze. Alright, so that needs to be bigger, but on its own layer, I'm going to just paint those in there. Alright, so I need to just with the layer mask erase the ones that are over the top. Probably take that one out too. Alright, now I'm going to do a copy of this and put a reflection in the water below. So I'm going to make a copy of this layer with the birds on it using the Control and J keys. And then I'm going to transform and flip that. So Control and T, and flip it vertically. Now, if you hold your Shift button, it's safe to drag it straight down, and that way you'll have a mirror image and it won't move off. So I'm going to commit that by pressing Enter. And because they're so small, I thought I might have needed to use a smudge tool or something to make the birds look like the ripples are coming through their reflection, but it's pretty calm there, and it kind of looks alright. I don't think I need to do anything there. I could change the opacity a little bit. Just turn them down a little bit like that. There we go. I think that looks right. So now I'm going to adjust the lighting, and I'm going to start that with some dodging and burning. So I'll do the burning first. I'll add some shadows. So I'm going to add a new layer style above that. This one's going to be a curves adjustment layer, and I'm going to darken that a bit. Now on the layer mask, I'm going to invert that layer mask and change it to black. So it's Control I. And with a white brush, let's see if I turn that off. Alright, so it's there. I'm going to reveal the shadows. So I'm going to do this gradually. I'm going to turn my opacity down to 25%, the flow down the same. And I'm going to paint where the shadows would be. Alright, so to the right of the moon there, it seems to be where most of the light in this image is coming from. So I am going to paint opposite to that. So I'll start down here. And I can actually make a selection around them, so I'm not painting the moon by going down to the layer that they're on. Control D to deselect. Alright, so they're down here on layer 10. So if I hover my cursor over there, hold down my control key and left click, it'll make a selection around them. Just make sure you're still on the layer mask, and I'll do a little bit more there and get right up to the edges then. So down his back, the back of his arm, behind them, behind his neck a little bit there. Alright, so Control D to deselect. I'll darken up this bit of the sky over here. Some of that water. Alright, so the opposite of the burning is the dodging, so I'll do that the same way with a curves adjustment layer. I'll invert that, Control A, and I'll scroll back down and I'll make a selection. So again, hover your mouse over the models, Control key and left click to make a selection around them. Now again with white, still set up, I want to highlight the bits which are facing the brightest light. So So I'll follow that edge around there. face. Control D to deselect. Just fix up a few little highlights. Let me just see between. I think his face is a little bit too bright there, but paint with black back. Okay. So highlights and the shadows. Okay, so I want to do some color adjusting now, but before I do, I'm just going to take the tone down a little bit on this because it's a little bit too bright, and I think if I do all my adjustments over the top of this, by the end of it, it's not going to look the way I want it to look. So I'm going to do a levels adjustment. I think I'll try that. I want it darker, but I don't want a lot of contrast. So I'm going to just start with the mid-tones, turn it down a little bit. And on the output levels, just soften it a bit that way, I think. Just get it a bit darker and a little bit softer looking with a bit of atmosphere to start off with. Okay, so now I'll try some color adjustments. So I'm going to do a color lookup adjustment. And I'm going to try Candlelight Cube. Alright, so just I'm going to apply that layer. So I've got the layer mask for that adjustment layer highlighted, and I kind of like the tones in these colors, so I want to try to keep those there but apply the image. So it's under image and apply image. Alright, so it's going to apply onto that layer there. So there's before, there's after. Now I'm going to do that again. So I might just copy that by Control J and change this to soft light. See how that looks. Alright, so let me try. I'll copy that again. Control J. This time we'll try overlay. Maybe let's turn the opacity down a bit. Alright, so I'll try a new color lookup. This time we'll try spend a few more colors to the crisp warm look. Change that to screen. Turn that down a bit. Maybe just reduce the opacity in that levels a little bit, perhaps. Okay. I'll just give it a gradient map now. So it's a gradient map. Try this blue, sort of red and yellow. And I'll change that to hard light. It's just going to change the colours on the highlights, midtones, and shadows. I'll put it down to about 5%. Yeah. Do a solid colour adjustment layer now. So I want a dark blue, a really dark blue. And I'll change the blend mode to Exclusion, and it gives it a kind of really nice soft look. Let me just come around with this blue. So if you go to black, you'll get no effect, and you can play around with the blues, and you can. This will work with dark blues and purples. It doesn't seem to work with any other colours. I don't know if it's the only time I've ever used Exclusion is when I discovered this. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do a stamp of all of that. So again, Control Shift Alt and E. Finish this off in Camera Raw. So filter Camera Raw. I'm just going to cool it down a little bit. So bring the temperature down a little bit. Sorry about my graphics card having conniptions here, but we should be able to get through this. Alright, so I'm just going to turn the contrast down a little bit. Maybe the shadows and the blacks, just a bit more. Just brighten up the highlights a fraction and the whites. Let's turn the clarity down a little bit because I want this to be soft and atmospheric. Saturation can come down, but I'll turn the vibrance up a little bit. Let's have a look at the tone curves. See what we can do there. Oh yeah, it makes those highlights and whites pop a bit more. Split toning, alright, so just put saturation up a little bit. We'll try just in the highlights. So there we go. Okay, there we have it.